executive regularly reviewed AI initiatives, but rarely discussed basic functionality problems. So what we did, we implemented foundation first approach, pausing all AI projects for 120 days to fix the fundamental journeys gaps. These results were remarkable. Addressing basic automation improved adoption by 28%, generating 4.2 million in additional revenue. When we later implemented AI engine on the stronger foundation, the effectiveness increased by 41%.
What's up, everyone? Today we have the pleasure of sitting down with Ankur Kothari, Adtech and Martech Consultant, who's worked at big tech names and finance consulting firms like Salesforce, JPMorgan, and McKinsey. In this episode, we cover AI personalization that actually increases retention, a step-by-step approach to AI personalization with a maturity framework, why you should fix the stack that you have before you buy another tool, how to balance AI personalization with human context, and predictive loyalty engines are coming to a MarTech stack near you. All that and a bunch more stuff after a super quick word from two of our awesome partners.
This episode is brought to you by Revenue Hero. You've invested thousands in your marketing funnel, targeted the right ICP, spent weeks A/B testing, and optimized for conversion at every step. Finally, a high-intent prospect fills out your demo form, and then nothing. Your nurtured lead sits in a queue while you chase them with, "How's Thursday at 2 p.m.?" Meanwhile, your competitor is already on a discovery call. That's not just frustrating, that's revenue walking away. With Revenue Hero, you can qualify, route, and book leads with the right rep, so your team can start real conversations right away. For the ops folks listening, Revenue Hero syncs meeting data to your CRM, auto-credits no-shows, recalibrates when reps go on vacation, and has a ton of smart features you won't find anywhere else. If you're spending to drive demand, don't lose it at the last mile. Visit revenuehero.io/demo today.
This episode is brought to you by MoEngage and their new warehouse native CEP, which revolutionizes the way data should be seamlessly fetched, analyzed, and activated. Now you can use MoEngage Cloud Data Sync to sync your warehouse data with MoEngage and use it to segment audiences or personalize messages without any development. Just set and forget. Use MoEngage warehouse segments to create segments on your warehouse data without moving underlying events, properties, or proprietary segmentation logic, and activate them directly on MoEngage. Using warehouse data analytics, brands can also directly generate insights from their warehouse data. Your long search solution for seamless data sync, smarter segmentation, dynamic personalization, and delightful customer experiences ends here. Warehouse native CEP from MoEngage, making it easy, smart, and secure. Learn more at moengage.com. Ankur, thanks so much for your time today. Really excited to chat.
Thank you, Phil. Thanks for having me. As a MarTech enthusiast, I love watching your podcast.
Awesome. I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, we've had a few episodes recently where we focused a lot on AI's role in acquisition and outbound type of efforts. But today I'm excited to chat with you about maybe the more overlooked intersection of AI, personalization, and how to use MarTech to integrate all that stuff and improve retention through personalized experiences. A lot of folks focus on the outbound acquisition because it's easier to kind of like portray, but retention is just as important in activation. Maybe we can start with the practical example. What do you think is actually working right now when it comes to personalization? Can you maybe share a real example where AI-driven personalization has meaningfully improved retention metrics, not just vanity metrics?
Yeah. About 2 years ago, I was a consultant to mid-sized e-commerce company in the home goods sector that was struggling with customer retention. The churn rate was hovering around 68%, and they were losing approximately 2 million in annual recurring revenue due to one-time shopper never returning. Traditional marketing approaches were not working because they were treating all customers with the same generic messaging, regardless of their browsing behavior, purchasing history, or engagement patterns. When we dig deeper into the data, we discovered that the customers are abandoning the brand not because of the product quality or the product issues, but because of the shopping experience felt impersonal and disconnected. The real issue was not just the acquiring new customer, but about understanding the existing customer needs at much more granular level. What we did is implemented AI-driven personalization strategy to website interaction, purchase history, email engagement, and customer service. We deployed machine learning algorithms to analyze the behavior pattern and predict purchasing intent by creating 27 different personalized customer journeys based on the AI prediction. We automated the content delivery across email, website, and mobile app based on the individual preferences that focus on creating individualized customer journeys. We, we consolidated first party data. Within 6 months, we saw remarkable improvements by key business metrics such as customer retention increased by 42%, average customer lifetime value grew from $127 to 203, repeat purchase rate improved by 38%. Overall revenue increased by 3 million, which is across 22% of that client. The ROI on the AI personalization investment was 1 is to 7 is to 1. Our specific example was customer segment interested in sustainable products who typically made one small purchase and disappeared. After implementing a customized, personalized journey for such customer segment, one such customer went from single $45 purchase to over $600 purchase over the next 1 year. That's more than 1200% increase in the customer value. As again, the key lesson is effective AI personalization is not about having technology. It's all about creating genuinely helpful customer experience that deliver value rather than just pushing products.
Yeah, I love hearing those stories and taking folks through that scaling maturity phase, right? Like small companies have a lot of opportunity, different sizes of companies do as well. And it's funny that we talk about that because like I actually just signed up for a Google Ads account for doing a bit of YouTube advertising. And that meant like creating a Google Ads account and spending a lot of time creating my first ad, in-stream ad. And the next day I got a welcome email from YouTube or Google, and I was like, "Oh, I'm excited to see the personalization from this big AI giant company." And I was so disappointed, Anchor, and I'm sure you've had that experience too. A big company not even doing like simple rule-based automation well. Like user signs up, wait 24 hours, did the user create their first ad? If no, then send him the email that Phil got. But since Phil did create his first ad, don't send him an email about creating his first ad. Check to see what his average CPV was. And if it's greater than this, send an email about that, about improving budget parameters. Like just the simple based behavioral type of segmentation that even Google wasn't doing in my welcome email. It's easy to think like we should be doing, step 0 to step 5. But some of the bigger players in the space can't even get step 1 well. A lot of the times it's about data and time lag and stuff like that, right?
Yep. You're absolutely right to the point out this connect in YouTube onboarding process. It's a prime example how even tech giants can falter when it comes to implementing basic personalization strategy. I saw this firsthand at the retail bank investing $2.3 million in AI loan recommendation engine while their basic onboarding emails were broken, sending welcome
Hmm.
messages weeks late or promoting product customers already had. This disconnect cost them $3 million annually in missed cross-sell opportunities. And what we found is the three common causes. First is organization siloing. The marketing team, the marketing operation teams, the innovation teams working separately with different goals and metrics. Secondly, legacy technological debt. Their basic system, the legacy system ran outdated platforms, making simple changes very difficult and complex, while AI projects use modern architecture and they do not talk to each other smoothly. Uh, Third is visibility issues. Executive regularly reviewed AI initiatives, but rarely discuss basic functionality problems, basic journeys, personalizations, which they have a lot of gaps. So what we did, we implemented foundation first approach, pausing all AI projects for 120 days to fix the fundamental journeys gaps. These results were remarkable. Addressing basic automation improved adoption by 28%, generating 4.2 million in additional revenue. When we later implemented AI engine on the stronger foundation, the effectiveness increased by 41%.
Hmm.
This experience taught me a successful financial institutions are not those with the most advanced AI, but those who execute flawlessly across all technology levels, for simple automation to cutting edge applications.
Yeah. Yeah. The super great advice. So, like, if we're trying to figure out where to start with like AI implementation for personalization, let's say maybe we have some of the basics in place, the foundation is there, our if this and that rules, simple rule based automation, hopefully faster than 48 hour sync on some of our data to do behavioral based automation. Let's say the basic is in place there and someone is trying to figure out how do we move to AI personalization? Like, what's your recommendation for maybe a first project that balances out the potential feasibility and some of the complexity that comes into play here?
Yeah, that's a great question, Phil. I recently advised on one of the regional bank with rich customer data, but no AI implementation. We avoided a common trap of starting a overly ambitious project. Instead, we focus what I call high value micro journey using AI
Mhm.
to enhance the mortgage pre-approval process. This was a mortgage banking firm. So how we started is clustering algorithm that analyze the transaction patterns, credit utilization, savings behavior, and identifying the customers likely to be home buying phase. This allows us to create personalized pre-approval communication with tailored rate and terms. Uh, this project really succeeded well because of three reasons. First, it utilized the existing data. It already had the bank has already core banking system and core banking data, which was underutilized. We don't need to invest any more in getting more collecting data. So we were utilized. So that was the best thing, and we had this data was really of good quality. Second is contain. It had contained scope, focusing on the specific product of a specific mortgage journey instead of attempting enterprise-wide personalization, which always
Mm.
uh, one of the reason to get failures. So we want to really focus which will bring the most value to our customers and to organization. And then a combination of these two actually delivered measurable results quickly. Within 60 days, mortgage application rates increased by 21%, and the approval to closing conversion improved by 12%. This for financial institutions focusing on the any of the mortgage product or any financial services product, I recommend identifying the single high value product journey where the personalization can meaningfully impact both customer experience and business outcomes. This builds organization confidence while establishing the foundation for the broader implementation.
Very cool. Yeah. If you were to like map out the maturity phases of this approach that you're taking, and you're kind of seeing like a variety of clients at different maturity stages there, like what does maturity implementation path look like for personalization messaging? Maybe we focus on like the post purchase use case. I tear my maturity path apart here, but like for me, step one, super basic, simple behavioral rule based stuff. Assuming that the behaviors are coming into your messaging platform fast enough that you can do stuff before 48 hours. But step two to me maybe is we start bringing in personas and use cases, and we're having multiple journeys within that like simple behavioral rule based stuff. We're adding like past purchase history, use cases for cross sell, going into like different products if you have multi products. Step three is dynamic content. So the emails that you're sending out, or the text messages, or the push notifications, you're dynamically changing the content of that based on the persona, the use case. We're creating performance management systems so people can pick and choose what type of messages they want to like receive. So we're almost like creating content modules, Lego blocks within the emails that we're sending out. Then we're getting a bit more complex. So like step four is implementing AI in this. So like step one to three didn't really have AI in any of these. And step four, we're introducing propensity models and uplift modeling into our messaging. So thinking about like the next best action instead of like having rules determine the dynamic content that shows up in the message to the user, we're letting a machine predict the right next best action to suggest to that person based on a bunch of historical data. And then finally, maybe like a step five is like the marketer is feeding content to a machine, and we're letting that machine fully orchestrate unique messaging journeys for individual people based on the channel they engage with the most and the right time to be sending them that message. Is that the right way to think about it? Like tear my maturity phase apart there, Encore.
No, I agree up to a certain extent, and it definitely is always evolving. The whole about your maturity curve, it has to evolve. So, uh, I totally align what the way your maturity curve. I will share what works best for me, and it's very much close what you said. So I always start with the behavioral triggers. That's the simple way to start understanding the customer needs and to provide the right nudges and right direction to your customers. How we can serve them better. So we start with a simple rule-based notification when the customer completed their first account setup, and that increased the follow-up visits or the follow-up purchase criteria. Then we can go with the segmentation enhancement. And this is the where you point where you have collected enough first party data and you have combined with your second and third party data, where you can evolve your demographic segments to behavior based micro segments, incorporating transaction patterns, digital engagement. This allows us to create distinct journeys for conservative savers. I'm taking examples of any financial services firm. So conservative savers who want to invest in more conservative way, and there are some active investors who want to do major risk taking capability. So you have a different journeys for them. Once you are done with the basic segmentation enhancements, you can move to the content modularization. What we suggest is a component-based content system with dynamic elements that adopt based on the relationship you have built with the customers or specific financial needs based on preference like uh, how much frequency you want to communicate, what are the topics you are interested in. Some customers like frequent communication, some customers do not want to get frequent communication. So you need to respect that preferences and build your content according to their needs. Once we are done with this basic infrastructure of work, then we can move to the predictive personalization. And that's where we come with the models, machine learning capability to predict likelihood of specific financial needs based on the life events, like if somebody's getting retired or having kids or getting married. Those lifetime events will help you to learn your models better. And then you can build your next best action approach offering relevance from improving your. So, in my example, I was able to improve the relevance by 42% and conversion by 28% by moving into this step four. And this itself is a good amount of personalization we have done. Most of the organizations are not able to complete this, optimize this first four step, and they move to the next
Yeah.
step, which is the AI orchestration. But I strongly recommend to focus first on the top four and then move to AI orchestration, where we can deploy machine learning to continuously optimize journeys based on the real time engagement and financial behavior. Uh, Creating truly individualized experience that improve retention and by 24% and will improve the share of wallet by 29% for the customer I worked with recently. What I would say that measure your each step. At each step, measure how it's getting aligned with your KPIs and the organization goals before you advance to the next step.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a really good point in this actually. Like A/B testing or creating holdout tests or some type of incrementality where you can see the net impact of moving from step number 2 or step number 3 from the previous step. And maybe that's even like an interesting element to introduce to this. Like, at what stage do you implement simple A/B testing in some of these like journeys or orchestrations versus automating some of those testing frameworks? Like, I've seen some tools that allow you to have like before you decide to go from like step 3 to 4 or 3 to 2, you can do a simple test and you run it for like 3 or 4 months or whatever, and then you see the net incremental dollar impact and you decide to go all in on like the next step. It makes sense for us to do it. But sometimes some tools have it just baked into the process where we're going to work with you to get to step 4, for like we're going to jump from step 1 to step 4 right away. And everything that we're going to do in step 4 is going to have a holdout group. There's going to be a control group, and every message that we send and we're going to be able to give you the incremental impact of every message that we're doing in step 4, so you'll see the results along the way. What are your thoughts on like instructing the human-based A/B tests versus adding the automation testing framework as part of that?
Yep. And this get asked multiple times, and most of my clients have this common question: when to start A/B testing. And in my experience, I always recommend timing depends of your A/B testing depends on the personalization maturity and resources you have. So I recommend introducing A/B testing at the step 2 of their personalization journey, immediately after implementing basic behavior triggers. We can start by testing subject lines or call to action variation in our any of the email communication. We reveal in the in one of the recent engagement, I realized that after first implementation of A/B testing, manual A/B testing, we found there's a 31% performance gap between the A and B variation. And that helped us to understand a lot about what our customer likes and do not like, and getting the right engagement data. However, we waited till step 4, predictive personalization step, to implement the automated testing frameworks. By this point, and the reason by this point, you want to have sufficient traffic volume to across segments to achieve the statistical significance quickly.
Hmm.
Establish content modules that can be systematically tested, data infrastructure to support so that you can analyze the result efficiently and more effectively. Then by the time organizations come with the clear KPIs as well as initially it's very broad, now you have a more clear, defined, granular level KPIs optimized for the customer segmentations. Then I move to the automated framework after the step 4, where we can use a machine learning to continuously test content variation across different customer segments, automatically relocating traffic to the winning variations. This actually will increase the conversion by 20 to 30% depending on the what financial services firm you're referring to. But I have seen 37% increase by just doing the manual A/B testing. The key lesson was starting simple manual test to build the testing culture before investing in automation. Many organizations rush to automate frameworks before establishing organizational discipline of hypothesis driven testing, leading to sophisticated system that generates insights nobody acts upon. So first focus on the data you're collecting, how you want to engage it, make it sure that KPIs are clear, your data infrastructure is there, content is there. Then you go with the A/B variation more in automated way.
Such a great point there on the data foundation piece there. I think that, you know, for a lot of folks listening, maybe there's like some marketers on the team that were just like, we want to start doing step 5 or even like step 4 or 3. And the marketing ops team, the marketing technologist knows the state of the data right now. And even though we could get to that stage from like a tech standpoint, the data that we have in place right now just isn't structured. We don't have enough pieces associated with it. It's not enriched enough to be able to do like step 3, step 4, or step 5. So like before any of this like crazy like step 3 or 4 or 5 that we talked about, there are like these data foundation pieces that need to be in place before it's even an option, right? Like what does the data maturity look like for this? Like when do you know, in your opinion, that you're ready for step 2 to 5?
I learned the critical importance of data foundation really hard way, and this happened during my early in my career. I was helping one of the wealth management firm, and I was asked to implement the personalization strategies using AI driven and make it happen now. Despite that happens all the time. You want everything to be done right away. So despite my concerns about the data readiness, I felt the pressure to move quickly. So we launched
Mhm.
personalized investment recommendation program using what data we had. The results were really bad. We sent inappropriate retirement planning offers to the client who are still in 30s, or suggested college going plan to the customers whose children have already graduated or they're so we realized so many mistakes, and we did in the personalized journeys and email communication we did, or the way we want to interact with our customers went really bad. So this painful experience led to me develop what we call a data readiness roadmap. We took a step back and focus on fundamentals. For our basic triggered communication, we first ensured 90% of my identity resolution across channels uh, and clean transaction data to achieve less than 12 hours of latency. Before attempting segmentation, we spent 6 months building customer profiles with consistent behavioral history, standardization of attributes across the retail and the wealth divisions. So we really know what our customer is instead of treating customer from different angles. And all this 6 months of work, that patience really paid off. When we relaunched the personalization program after a few months, client engagement increased by 43% and new investment account open rose by 28%. The valuable lesson I learn and I share with my team all the time is the quality of data foundation directly determines the ceiling of your personalization capabilities. So, as you said, data foundation is very important to begin with.
This episode is brought to you by our friends at Knack. I have the amazing pleasure of chatting with some of the greatest minds in marketing operations, but you'd be shocked at how many of them have the same issues when it comes to their campaign creation process. They're dealing with things like scaling, personalization, keeping assets on brand, render testing emails, working in rigid templates, and worst of all, having to hand code emails. But many of the leaders in the space are using Knack to eliminate these headaches. Knack is a no-code email and landing page creation platform that covers initial campaign requests right until the sync to your marketing automation platform. Knack improves the whole campaign creation process by bringing the building, optimization, testing, collaboration, and also translation functions all in a single spot. So you don't have to jump around and coordinate feedback between a bunch of different people or wait on developers for very simple edits. Because at the end of the day, marketing ops folks want to focus on process and efficiency. Marketers want to focus on creativity, and Knack makes sure you get both and then some. Check them out at knack.com. That's KNAK, and tell them we sent you. This episode is brought to you by our friends at Census. You probably have over 15 tools in your marketing tech stack, but how many of them have the full picture of your customer's journey? Census is the universal data layer in your stack. It unifies and cleans data from all your sources and makes it available for any app to use. Census makes it super easy to unify and standardize customer data, then enrich and enhance it, like running deduplication, cleaning, scoring, and routing workflows, and then sync and activate that data across all of your tools so you can actually do something with it. For marketers and data teams that work together to power big campaigns, it's so refreshing to work from a reliable source of truth. Don't just take my word for it though. Census is loved by awesome companies like HubSpot, Perplexity, Canva, Clay, Notion, and many more. Check them out at getcensus.com and tell them we sent you. The Martech landscape, like I was looking at your LinkedIn earlier, and you're a big fan of sharing stuff from Scott Brinker. We had him on the show a couple of years ago. I listen and read to Scott all the time, and everyone that's seen the landscapes, they're notoriously fragmented, right? And I feel like with AI and Gen AI and now AI agents, like it's just blowing up and it's becoming unwieldy. Like, how do you approach integrating AI personalization capabilities with existing tech stacks with your clients without creating more silos or even more of these like tech islands? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah. And we all have faced a similar challenge over the time. Any big organizations, enterprise organization, because of multiple reasons, one could be merger and acquisitions and adding lot many tech stack to for different use cases. Uh, we commonly found we call it spaghetti diagram, spaghetti architect, where you have many tools. They are somehow connected to each other with not perfectly working data. That data is moving.
Hmm.
So in the recent engagement, I when I was with Salesforce, so I was advising one of the CMO that how the spaghetti architecture is disconnected marketing technology and the critical customer data is trapped in the silos. Uh, our ambitious AI personalization goal seems impossible given this fragmentation. Now, it's very difficult to rip apart everything and recreate the tech stack when you have a AI and personalization already on hook to get implemented. So instead of that, what we built is called the connective tissue strategy, where we started implementing CDP platform, customer data platform, that sat over the existing tech stack, creating a unified customer profile without disrupting any of the operations. What we did, our approaches had the three phases of it. We created API connections between our core banking system, CRM, and digital banking platform to establish a single customer view. Second, we implemented decision layer, decision engine that could access the unified profile and determine the next best actions. And the third was the delivery integration to execute these decisions across channels, more focusing on the omni-channel experience. This breakthrough came when we connected our wealth management system to this ecosystem. Previously, isolated client information become accessible for personalization, increased investment product cross-sell by 34%. The key lesson was prioritizing integrations over replacement. By creating a data orchestration layer above your existing systems, we can achieve a personalization goal without a risk of and cost of complete tech overhaul. The This approach delivered ROI in almost 9 months versus 2 year plus years of replacement strategy. We might have considered that.
Hmm. Yeah, the orchestration layer that you mentioned there is really interesting. Like something that's happening in Martech right now. I chatted about this with the episode that dropped today. Um, every Martech vendor is integrating AI and agent capabilities right now, and they're like recalibrating their value propositions. Product marketers are rewriting the home pages to include AI GTM and like AI orchestration. Like all the Martech tools are doing this right now. How do you see the relationship between all these different platform categories like iPaaS, marketing automation, customer engagement, CDPs, like all of these major ecosystem players evolving in an AI agent centric world when everyone has AI agent features? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, that's so true. If you see our MarTech stack includes separate platforms for data integration, CDP, CDM, campaign management, engagement orchestration, and each vendor is rapidly adding AI capabilities, claiming to be a central brain for customer experience. Uh, and in one of the brainstorming session within our steering committee, one of our client CTO asked the same question. What we approach is in 5 years, which of these platforms will actually exist as a separate categories, or they are going to get merged together, or they are going to collapse, or
Mm,
and that's things that change and things are changing rapidly. So that led us to develop a strategy. We call it convergence strategy. Rather than betting on individual platform, we focus on creating a flexible architecture that could adapt as category merged.
mm,
We identified three key trends reshaping the smart tech landscape. First is, as you said, the collapse of the traditional boundaries between iPaaS, CDPs, reverse ETL as data movement has become more commoditized. Second is emergence of AI agents as a new orchestration layer sitting above execution platforms. And the third is the shift from tool-centric approach to the use case-centric solutions. So we
mm.
restructured our contracts in shorter terms so that we have a flexibility to change the platform as frequently as we need to. And we prioritize open API and data portability. So there will be no tech debt or difficulty in adopting of new tools and solutions in our tech stack. This approach paid off when the CDP and the marketing automation vendors merged in last couple of years, creating integration challenges. But the competitors, like other organizations, were facing challenges like how to adapt to this new merge or collapsible CDPs are coming in the market. So keeping your architecture flexible, more focus on open APIs, keep an idea of the data operability helps you to overcome this ever-changing market landscape.
Very cool. Yeah, I like that approach there, making sure that you're rethinking your contracts and setting up the stack in a way that you can be flexible instead of trying to predict who is going to win the race to like that orchestration layer, figuring out, being flexible and whoever ends up winning that race whoever ends up buying other players in that race too, right? Like, I feel like one thing that's top of mind, especially for enterprise marketing operations team, is specifically like the complexity that will come in a year or two before there is potential consolidation or before there is like a specific category or tool that is the clear winner and this is the best practice and we need to do it that way. This explosion of AI agents from all these different vendors with their own orchestration logic, like you said, we need to figure out a way to have a layer on top of that, on top of the execution layer. But like how what advice do you have for folks that are in this enterprise world right now and need to figure out how in this meantime, before we know what is the best practice and where we're going, what do we do with this spaghetti right now of orchestration and every tool wants to do AI agent stuff, especially in an enterprise environment? What advice do you have?
Yeah, and again, common pitfall, common challenge. I will give you example. When I was an architect at one of the major financial services firm, we faced the exact challenge. We had implemented AI agents for across multiple functions: conversational AI for customer service, agent for the fraud detection, another for investment recommendation, and there's a marketing orchestration agent. Initially, these agents work operated in silo, but and they were working fine. But as the use case evolved and they are interacting more with the customers, they need to collaborate now because so that we can give the consistent message across all the platform. In fact, the complexity become more apparent when the wealth management clients started receiving contradictory messages. Our marketing agents were promoting high risk investment while our advisory agent were recommending conservative approach. So this get more confusing for the customers, and this was not a great experience for the end customers. So what we did, we developed, we call it agent governance framework with three key components. First is centralized knowledge graph that provided single source of truth to all these agents, and this not just confined to only to agents, but
Hmm.
any kind of in-person conversation as well. So even the salesperson or the advisor or the age wealth management advisor, they will have access to the same common graph knowledge. Second is priority hierarchy that determine which agent's decision will take precedence in conflict situations. So we always know which is the best advice we want to give to the customer. Third is the unified customer context service that ensure all agents had access to the same real-time customer information. This breakthrough came when we implemented this meta agent architecture, agents that orchestrated other agents. This
Hmm.
approach helped us a lot to avoid this conflicting actions. We were able to reduce 87% of our conflicting actions and improve cross-functional consistency. Again, the insight I would say is treating AI orchestration as an enterprise architecture challenge rather than a vendor management issue.
Hmm.
Most of the institutions can succeed this environment by establishing a clear governance models and how agents will interact rather than allowing each vendor AI to operate in isolation.
What does the ideal team structure look like for you as you're like thinking about advising clients on moving up that maturity scale that we talked about of personalization and introducing AI once they have data foundations in place? Do you think that lifecycle slash marketing remains different teams than the data team? Do you have them kind of integrated together? Is it a decentralized or a centralized model? Do you have different pods with a bunch of different like cross disciplines in there? What are your thoughts on team structure to make this thing happen?
Yeah, I actually tried all structured, and I will share
Mm,
what works best for me. So as we advance through our personalization maturity journey, I call it you can have a centralized team, as you said, then you can have a decentralized team, and the third one is called hub and spoke model. And I will we all understand centralized and decentralized, but what works best is hub spoke. So initially, we created a center of excellence, centralized, personalized team that served all business units. While this improved consistency, but it creates a bottlenecks and distance from the business objectives because they are very focused on their central team, and each of the line and teams have a different business goals, which need custom journeys and custom interaction. Our major breakthrough came when we implemented I call hub and spoke model. We maintained a core data and technology team, the hub centralized, that manage our CDP platform, identity resolution, and model infrastructure. Around this hub, we created cross-functional customer journey pods aligned to specific life cycle stages. For example, acquisition, onboarding, growth, retention. And each pod includes a product owner, data scientist, content strategist, a technology specialist who collaborate daily. And this by this acquisition hub and spoke model, and each acquisition pod increased the new conversion customer conversion by 28%, while our retention pod reduced attrition by 23%. For personalization to happen correctly, you need both specialized technical expertise and deep business context, which is very difficult to manage at the centralized team because each business function has a business different business goals. So what succeeded is maintaining centralized data foundation while embedding analytical talent directly into the business teams where they can develop domain expertise and measure the impact directly.
Yeah, we kind of touched on this a little bit already. Like we hear data quality and data quantity constantly as like two of the objections or things that hold back teams on figuring out what is good enough data that actually allows us to do effective AI personalization and do stuff that's a bit more complex. Where do teams often like misdiagnose their data readiness? Like how do you know when you have enough data and good enough data to make that change?
Most of the times we think data readiness is all about we have good quantity of data and the data is accurate and complete. That's good enough data. But what I have seen, if you don't have a context of why we have this data and how we are going to utilize this data, it's actually help us to define, are we really ready for personalization or do we have good enough data? So what I do, and it's basically three hidden quality gaps within the data which you have not identified yet, and which is very critical to measure how much data is really good enough data. First is identifying whether data has a consistency there. Most of the organization have collected data, but we have discovered the temporal inconsistency. The
Mm.
transactional data was there, but it was collected in different parts of the timeline. We are not able to stitch together and get insights out of it. So inconsistency of data is it's one of the bigger challenge. Second is we we know what customers are interacting, what customers are doing with us with the purchasing of the good or transactions or the various engagement data. We know what they are doing, but we don't know why they are doing. Why did
Mm.
they buy? Why did they went to our visit? What are the different channels they visited? Why they switch their preferences? So that why is very important behind the data, which I was saying, the context why we collected this data. And the third is the relationship blindness. It's very common in the financial services when it comes to management of money, the head of household, and not able to connect the other family members into one. That
Mhm.
creates a relationship blindness that we because most of the decisions are collective decisions by the family, and by making identifying the head of household, you can provide the better recommendation or communications. We developed a fitness of purpose framework that assess data quality specifically for personalization use. For example, we determine that effectiveness based offer personalization requires 9 months of consistent behavioral data, 85% of the identity resolution across channels, and less than 48 hours data latency. uh, this breakthrough came when we focus on enriching relationship data, connecting household members within our system. This single improvement increased personalization effectiveness by 37%, even though we haven't made any algorithm changes. So, good enough data is not about perfection across all attributes, but rather sufficient quality in specific dimension that drive the personalization use case.
One of the things that holds back a lot of teams, especially enterprise teams, and especially teams in regulated industries, like a lot of your experiences in the financial service sector, we have a lot of folks that work in healthcare, and you know we're dealing with PHI, PIIs, very sensitive data, right? And we don't want AI to send the wrong thing to the wrong person and share sensitive information with a machine and it gets in the wrong hands, right? Like there's a lot of sensitivity when it comes to moving up that maturity phase in scaling personalization. And I wanted to ask you about like that human touch in there and this idea of balancing the human touch with letting the machine orchestrate a lot of those decision making things. Like, where have you seen the most successful balance when you're striking between algorithms making decisions and having this like human creativity or even like guardrails coming into place and making sure that the sensitive information isn't being shared in the wrong places, and we're doing QA and all that stuff. Maybe chat about that for a bit.
Yeah. So, uh, working recently with one of the asset and wealth management client, we implemented AI personalization engine for high net worth clients that analyze portfolio performance, market conditions, behavioral patterns to deliver highly personalized communications. The data showed impressive engagement metrics. Open rates increased by 42%, client portal logins rose by 37%. Yet in our quarterly client satisfaction survey, we saw an alarming trend. Comments like feels mechanical, feels missing the personal touch that appeared frequently, and our relationship strength scores declined by 18%. When we analyze which communication resonated most deeply, is combined through AI driven insight with the authentic advisor perspective, and that consistently outperforms purely algorithmic content. For example, market volatility alerts that includes brief personal video from the client's advisor had a 3.5 time higher engagement rate than the automated alerts alone. So this is what we call develop a human in the loop framework, where the clear
Mhm.
guidelines for when human involvement is essential. Some major my life milestone events like retirement, inheritance that required human touch outreach. Investment recommendation over certain thresholds needed advisor review, and that's what you need human in the loop to talk to customer, make him comfortable that we are not just algorithm or mechanical. So communication driving market volatility, including personal context from advisors, the most successful interaction I have seen. So,
Very cool.
yeah, it's a balance between the AI and how you handle personalization along with the human in the loop.
Yeah, I've heard that human in the loop used by a couple different folks on the show. It's a nice analogy to, let folks that have those hesitations about, how are we going to implement AI and all this without forgetting the humans that are going to be part of the decision making process, because it is a journey to get there. We can't like flip on that switch if you're in those early phases of that maturity there. I got two last questions for you. Wanted to let you chat about emergent tech and like some of the bold predictions you have when we were trying to figure out topics for the show. I want to let you chat about behavioral intent predictions, predictive loyalty, and you're also excited about empathetic AI. So yeah, I'll give you the floor here. Walk us through those.
First, I would like to talk about predictive loyalty will replace the reactive rewards. AI system I see in future will anticipate the customer needs and deliver value before customer even recognize those needs themselves.
Hmm.
In the early prototypes, we have seen system can detect subtle patterns indicating a customer might be considering alternatives proactively, and they intervene with personalized experience that can increase retention by 53%. That would I see as a major enhancements going to happen in personalization. And the second is empathetic AI that will emerge as a key differentiator beyond behavioral data. AI will understand emotional context and life circumstances to create truly human-centered experiences. Our research shows that the system incorporating emotional intelligence outperform traditional personalization by 72% on long-term loyalty metrics. Give you a great example. We created or we did a pilot test case on healthcare provider that could detect subtle linguistic and behavioral patterns indicating patient anxiety. The
Hmm.
system analyzed communication tone over the phone, appointment scheduling patterns, or portal usage to identify the patient experiencing healthcare anxiety before that explicitly. expressed come from the patient itself.
Hmm.
For these patients, AI can automatically adjust communication frequency, simplified medical information, high anxiety cases, facilitate human outreach from the care coordinators with before even customer patient asks for it. I see that would really bring lot value to the customers.
Super cool. That's really exciting. Analyzing, yeah, the tone of voice in those calls and how they're interacting with portals. I feel like my healthcare providers can can learn a thing or two from that. Anchor, this has been a super fun conversation. I got one last question for you. You're obviously a Martech leader, ad tech, customer experience leader, a digital transformation expert. You're also a father of two and a pickleball fanatic. One question we ask everyone on the show is, how do you remain happy and successful in your career? But how do you find balance between all the things you're working on while staying happy?
Yeah. So my secret to happiness in Martech space, I treat my personal life like a high priority A/B test that always outperforms my work metrics. Whenever my smart watches or smart devices buzzes with campaign alerts, or that happens all the time during the dinner time, I simply ask whether this notification improve my family engagement rate. The
Mm.
answer is always no. Apart from that, I try to declutter my life over the weekends from the technology devices, tech devices. Keep my phone away or the technology devices away when I'm playing the pickleball with my friends or family.
Yeah, definitely better at pickleball when when you don't have your phone in your hands there. Yeah, I empathize a lot with that. I think, since I went like solopreneur route and I work for myself, it's easier said than done to like fully turn off work mode and put the phone away. But my daughter doesn't care how busy I am or what's going on at work, and sometimes we're like kicking the ball in her playroom and she'll like tell me to put my phone down, and I'm just like embarrassed sometimes because like she catches me in the act, and I'm just like, I don't want to be that dad who grows up with like, the phone always on, always in work mode. And yeah, she's a good reminder of like detaching and there's a world outside of work.
Yes, I can understand.
Awesome. I really appreciate your time, Encore. This is super fun. Yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you very much.